ladies and gentlemen, that will be an experiment. I have no idea if it's going to work. By the way, if you didn't notice, that was supposed to be a Prague. Please keep it in mind. So, the story and the last story between you and the beer is going to be about 3 reasons why your product development phase. So it's kind of optimistic for the end of the day. And I'm going to start with the fairy tale story for you. And the fairy tale story usually starts with the far, far away, behind 7 seas, behind 7 mountains, there was a magic kingdom with a castle. And in this magic kingdom, when the customer comes to you, they already know what they need. And the team already know how to build it, and nothing changed along the way. You've seen the Magic Kingdom? Have you seen the people who think they live in Magic Kingdom? So those are the people who run around your office with the magic wand, casting a powerful spells on people, like, I wish you will deliver by May, or I want you to commit on Friday. So my observation is that as we work with the people, as we work in a complex environment that was already mentioned here, we try to simplify some of the problems we have. We try to make them super simple. Let's make it just a magic wand, and let's have those problems solved by the magic wand. And it doesn't work. That doesn't work. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just point you 3 of the main reasons I notice why it doesn't work. And well, later over the view we can talk about solution for those. So the very first number is, well, let's start from this one. I want you to, before we get to the very first point, I want you to think about one item that surprised you recently in the job, not home, at job. So something that was kind of surprise for you, and think about this for a second, and then turn to someone next to you and just spend 1 minute sharing this one. So we have just only a minute because total I have 30 minutes, so we cannot spend too much time. What was the thing that surprised you, and what was the impact on the whole products or the project you had? Okay, just 1 minute, please. Alright, that was a minute. I need you back. So there is a beer. In a few minutes you can finish this story over the beer. Now, I need to know how many people has a positive situation, like something that was super surprising, that was super fun for us. Yeah, this is what I usually happen, right? 10% maybe. And how many people have something like a negative, that was this kind of oh crap situation? Oh yes. So we have more usually of this kind. For some reason we have more of this oh crap situation, like oh really, that was fun situation, right? And the reason I ask you for that is to show you that over the time, what is happening, most of the software development is learning a new knowledge. So gaining a new information, getting a new things, new perspective, answering some of the questions. And the thing is that this knowledge we just gain over the time. And there are a few problems to that. One of the problems is that we don't know how much we don't know. So it always can happen that you will learn something new just after your release date. Yeah, you've seen this before, right? So my favorite story goes from NASA, which sent a probe to Mars in 1998. And the probe gets to Mars 1999, and then with the full speed it hit the Mars. For post-mortem, for the probe, they discovered that the NASA was using the metric system and the subcontractor was using the English system, right? So the learning cost them millions of dollars. And it was pretty expensive learning, but it was a learning. And the thing is, it is not about that they didn't know that there are two metric systems existing. The problem what they had was that they didn't know that they should ask this question. So there are things we know we don't know. We call them the risk, but we know the question. And there are things we don't know, and there are a way bigger of those items. And there's unknowns, and we don't even know the question, so we don't ask it, right? So the problem we have in software development is that we focus too much on delivering software or the features, and we don't focus enough on learning the knowledge, so getting new knowledge. So how many here people collect the velocity, so you know how many features you deliver? Not many, that's cool. Oh, more hands up, okay. So we get a velocity which is super popular. How I do it? Now, how many people here trying to know how much knowledge you get every iteration? Okay, that's a little less. No, guys. I'm calling this learnosity. And the trick is that my observation is usually it's more important for us to focus on learning than on delivering a feature. The moment you deliver the feature is usually the first moment you start learning about the feature. Are people using this one? Just because it's on the production, there is no correlation with people using your feature. Just a super simple example, we have a website, as any other company have a website, and after a year of using this website, we just discovered that the people have no idea there was something down on the website. So people who were getting on the first page, trying to click something, didn't notice, didn't happen anything, and they were leaving the website. So it was so huge problem for us, because we were losing a lot of people on the first page. Now, so what we want in Agile, well, we are not starting from the better position than this one. The only difference you can have in Agile is to get the knowledge faster. So instead of having all this kind of oh shit moments, it's more of the oh really moments. Oh, this is what you mean. Okay, this is what customer really needs. Okay, this is who are the stakeholders for us. So anything we do in Agile, I would rather you to focus on learning rather than having a velocity. So think about it. The moment you do a planning for your iteration, think about it, what kind of experiment you're going to run. The moment you do, I'm going to make sure this doesn't turn off. Still working, okay. The moment you do review, think about how do you share your learning. I'm going to give you one more example. And if the IT team goes to the review, they basically show the feature, they get the applause, and they're done with the review, right? This is how it works. Now, I was working with the sales team, and the very first review we had, the sales team came in and said, we were expected to have 20 sales, we did 14, and a question to that. Okay, thank you, we're done for today. Now, how much learning do we have? How does it look? Like 5 minutes we're done with the review, right? So we start thinking, how do we share the knowledge? How do we get better on getting our reviews? And one of the discoveries said, how about we tell the story of the customer? So the difference was that the next review were basically telling the stories. What we learned during the calls. What are the problems the customer are seeing? What are the solutions they are looking for? What they are complaining about? What the patterns do we see? So again, review planning, there should be more on the learning than on the speed of the team, of your team. Okay, that's number one. Number two, again, I will ask you for a very short conversation about how much time do you need from the idea to bring to production at your company? At average, I know there's a difference. How much from the idea to the production? Have just a short discussion, just 1 minute. See how it will work for you. Okay? Okay, I'm gonna stop you one more time. Thank you. I'm not going to ask you for those times on the forum. There are too many people, so you most likely don't want to share. But I'm gonna give you a story about this one. So let's assume that we have a traditional process, like a very traditional waterfallish process. And I have an idea, and I go to my boss and I said, I have a great idea. And the boss says, that's a great idea. How about you write a business case for that? And I spent like few weeks on writing the business case, reminding yourself that I have still some business as usual work to do, so I don't have full time for that. Then my boss go to the CEO with this one, and they say, yeah, that's a great idea. We're going to do this next year. And somewhere around, so let's say June, they're going to have a people for that, not the resources in this case. So let's assume that that is a super great idea, and it takes something like 6 months, just from the moment I came with the idea to the moment we start working on this one. Now, we have a waterfall, so we have analysis, development, and the testing, and it's another 3 months. Sure, then we need to integrate this one. We need to do UAT, so user testing, and then we need to wait for the release, right? So another 3 months. Now, when did the customer get the products? Well, I'm gonna help you after 12 months. Okay, when the customer is going to see the product for the very first time? Well, 9 months with maybe 12. Let's call it 9. Okay. Now, this is not much agile. We need to be agile. So there are some problems behind this model. It's basically that you need to know what is the world going to look like 12 months from now. In most cases, we have no idea, right? I'm having a conversation with the bank and I say, oh, that's a very important feature, but we don't need it anymore. So why is it in the requirements? Oh, because the last year when we were planning this project, we had the idea for the promotion, but the promotion is not going to happen this year, so we don't need this feature, right? So we deliver like 2/3 of the feature we deliver, there are no value for the customer, right? But the thing is that you need to guess how the market looks like 12 months from now, right? Which countries are you going to be in? How the economy is going to look like. So the company says, that's not agile, we need to be agile. You guys in IT need to do something about it. So the guys in IT get some training, get some education, get some support, and they do it pretty well. So let's assume that they did not slow down, but they do not improve neither. So they do a short iteration, like a 6 iteration here. Now, how does those two numbers change? So when do I get the product? 12 months. Right, thank you. Yeah. So when do the customer give me the first feedback? 6.5, right? The first iteration. So now it's better. That's not agile. We still wait 12 months. You guys in IT need to do something about it, right? So let's assume we have a really, really awesome team in IT and they know how to speed up by 100%. Imagine you guys working twice as fast, right? So let's assume we can go twice as fast. So instead of 6 iterations, we just need 3 iterations. Now, how do the numbers change? When do we get the feedback? 6.5, right? When do we get the product? 10.5. Yeah, I know it's 5 p.m. already, so it's super hard to do the math. So now it's agile, isn't it? We must be agile because we're working twice as fast as we used to. So by the way, agile is not about going fast. It's not about going cheaper. Most likely those 17 people who signed up the manifesto, that we call it Manifesto for Cheap Software Development or Fast Software Development. They call it Manifesto for Agile Software Development. So it's not about going faster here, but about looking at the whole process, right, from here to here. And just because you're doing iteration doesn't mean that you can go faster. I'm having this conversation all over again. We're doing Agile. That's saying, awesome, right? How long is your duration? 2 weeks. Awesome. When you go to production, 2 years. Why is that? Or Tomek, you don't understand. We are in a different condition. We are special. Yes, it's everyone else. you don't understand. We are rewriting the old store to a new store, and we need to copy all the features. Because we have no idea which one is being used, by the way. They don't say it, right? But they don't know. So just in case, because they're going to have a product 2 years from now, they just put every single feature they used to have into the system. So in most cases, if you want to speed up, don't look at the software development part, look at this one. Imagine if you can shorten your project by 50% here, you don't need to do anything here. You can still be waterfall here as long as you can speed up this by 50%. That can work. Now, so think about it, how much you can get from here to here. And one of the tools you can use is the value stream mapping. Again, we can talk about this over the beer, but basically it's about looking at the time we spend from here to here and when do we get any value to the customer. And if some of you answer that you can deliver a feature to the production in 2 weeks, then one of the questions from me will be, how long does your feature wait in queue here? Because you may be able to deliver, but most of the feature might be waiting here for like 5 months or so. So Henrik Niebuhr was doing the value stream mapping with one of the gaming companies who was complaining they're always late. And what they discovered, they have a half of the year of game ideas. And just by getting rid of this queue, they were able to speed up the product development. So there was a very simple question. Do we want to do this game now or not? If the answer was no, then we throw it away. And then just by getting rid of the queue, they were able to speed it up. So think about the process you have, how many queues you have, how many dependencies you have into the system, do the value stream mapping and find those items so you can speed up. Okay, number 3. Again, I will ask you for some discussion. So, the number 3 will be a question for you in pairs. How many teams do you need to deliver a feature to the production? A feature is something that the customer can use. It's not a component of the system, it's a feature. Okay, so how many teams do you need to deliver a feature? And we're gonna look at this one. Again, a minute for you for having a conversation, a minute for me to turn it on. So, how many people has more than 2 teams? If not, then we can go for the break. Okay, there are a few people at least here. So, that is a super simple case in case we just have 2 teams to deliver a feature. That is super simple. So, let's assume I have 3 teams. Each of the teams has one component. So, can you see the color there? Not much here. That's a pity. So, we have A, which is green, B, which is blue, and C, which is black. Now, that's an organizational backlog. Many times we have many teams, we have none of that. So basically most companies do not know what is important and they just do everything. But assume we have a smart company and they know what is important. So, the very first item is green and blue. So let's assume we are doing Agile approach, and we're doing iteration, and I'm gonna make it super simple. So one item is one iteration. What is going to happen with the first item on the first iteration? Well, A and B is going to work on this one, so that's super cool. What is going to happen with second item? Sorry, the team C is going to work on the number 2, which is green and black. Now, what is going to happen next iteration? That is going to be more complicated, because at the end of the iteration we have one item done, this one is done, but this one is still in progress. That's the end of the first iteration, right? Now, the second iteration we start, so we get this one done, and this one done. The team A work on this one, and the team B work on this one, and the team C work on this one. Again, when those two guys work together, so when the team A took over something from the team C, what are they going to discover? So we call this integration. So they're trying to integrate with something someone else changed. What do you discover during the integration? It doesn't work, right? This is how we call it. We need to fix it. Okay, so we notice that it is working here, but we still need to have some fix. Now, again, iteration number 3, so we get this item done, this is still not done. Iteration number 3, those guys get back here to fix those bugs, and now this item is done. And again, the blue guys move here, and green guys move here, which basically we may have something working right now. Now, the question is, how much time does it took us to deliver number 2? So the second item, basically we get like 3 iterations, right? Now, that was the second I want to the most important, right? So let's make it more complicated now. Let's assume we have some other items here. I'm going to add a few more items. I'm going to give you like some items that can be delivered by one team. And we start another iteration. So the green team works on this item, the blue team works on this item, and the black team works on these items. Why they do that? It's not important on my backlog here, but we need to keep people busy, right? So again, we have people working on some items, but it's not going to be important. This iteration number 4, now iteration number 5, the green guys go work on this item. What they discover? It's not working, right? This item is waiting because the blue guys are working on this item again, right? So the next iteration I have 1, 2, 3 items in progress by now. Not to mention that the black guys can be working on this item. This is the 4th item in progress, right? And it's more and more items coming in progress. And it's super difficult in this case to finish anything. And we cannot tell people not to work on items because they are very expensive. So we cannot tell people just to sit for one iteration, right? So they need to do something. So next iteration, again, we'll be doing those integration. We'll be trying to combine those items, and we need basically someone to make sure that all those features are being delivered. So we need someone to coordinate the work. Well, we most likely need a project manager. No, by the way, we're doing Agile here, right? So they need to be Agile project manager. Oh, by the way, how do we know which part of this feature is done here and which part of this feature is done here? Well, we don't know, someone needs to decide. So we need to have a business analyst. But you know what? We are Agile, right? So we have Agile business analyst here, right? And we need to have an architect. And again, we need to have an architect. Now we are Agile. By the way, there are some frameworks around that. So here's the trick. The moment you cannot deliver a feature by one team, you have all those coordinators outside your teams. So the teams are not responsible for the features. Those guys are. And you have all those programs. You have this 3 months planning in advance to make sure that all those features which are here are going to be in the next release that is going to happen in 3 months from now. So if you want to work a little differently, then you need to change your teams. And instead of having one team working on A, one team working on B, one team working on C, you need to change your organization to one that can work on all 3 items. And sure, they don't know us. That's super hard to see anymore. Okay, but that's good how your organization is going to look like. So, if you try this one. So, sure, the team number 1 is not so great in C as they used to be this time. But you know what? They need to learn. We call this process learning, and the difference between people and the resources is that the people can learn. So it's gonna take time, but you can make a team that can change 3 models. And you can have another team that can change 3 models. And then you can have another team that can change 3 models. And that is the moment when, during the first iteration, you can deliver 3 items from the top of your backlog. And during the next iteration, you can deliver another 3 items on the backlog, and so on and so on. And you don't need to plan for 3 months in advance anymore. You can, but you don't have to, because you don't need to synchronize between the team. It's not about the synchronization between the team, it's about removing dependencies between the team. So the very last moment is creating a really cross-functional and cross-component teams. And it takes time. It requires the change of your structure. But the thing is, again, one example from my customer is that there was a huge opportunity for them to get into the market of 1.5 millions of customers. That was the total market, that's not everything they could get. But basically that was the total market. Now, they went for a meeting with government on Wednesday. By Friday, we have a conversation about, do we want to do it? And we say, yes, we want to do it. And on Tuesday, we have a review from the previous iteration. So on Friday, we say, guys, we want you to finish what you've been working on for the last 2 weeks, right? We just want to let you know that from that Wednesday, you're going to work on something different. And on Tuesday, they have shown what they've been working on the last 2 weeks. And Wednesday, they start working on the new feature. Over the next 1.5 months, they have delivered everything they wanted. And basically, they say, I don't have the data now to show again over the year, I can do it. But they say just stay working. So they get like up to, I guess, 200% off between the previous February and the next February when the system was expected to be run. So the agility is not about, again, not going faster, it's not about going cheaper, but the ability for the company to deliver feature. The difference they had the 3 teams working on a feature. So at the end of the iteration, they could freely change the direction because there was no work in progress in their backlog. They didn't have a halfway down features. And this is what I hope you guys are going to get also sooner or later. Alright, I guess it's beer time, so thank you very much.